The masterpiece is valuable too, just on an artifact. Yeah, don't get me wrong. The masterpiece is very good. A masterpiece is twice as good. Artifact is, in terms of worth at least, artifact can be like tens and hundreds and thousands of times worth more. Dwarf can get pissed because he lost, but he loses his mind if he loses an artifact. Yeah, so we have one dwarf who's been getting angry because he beautified up a bunch of metal that I'm now destroying and melting. So he's been getting angry. But if we got an artifact, he would just be bonkers. He'd be 100% like just no amount of making him happy would mitigate that. He's bonkers now. Congratulations, you ruined him. And this should no longer be an up-down, but should be replaced to be just an up. Yeah, that alert is us losing masterpieces. This is making Chosen One very, very angry. If any of those were an actual full-blown artifact, you would be a gibbering maniac. Oh, and I never installed the last siege engine. Silly me. Now we have all siege engines built. We're still using the southeast one as target practice to level up our siegers. How many gems are down there? Holy shit. Stocks, E, rough. We have 37 rough clear zircons. I want to unforbid these damn things. There we go. Rough clear zircons, rough rubicels. We have more zircons, so I'm going to go for them. Clear zircons. Hold on. I want to at least see a gap over here. I should probably set up a quantum for over here too, but whatever. Alpaca wool is of the finest quality. What did I miss? Lose his mind. What, you employ alpacas as grazers? Oh. Why is this being done with walls? I see your alpaca equation and I divert the question by wondering why I built walls here. I think, well, I might have had them at some point. No, actually, I think the closest I got was llamas. No. Alpacas got zeroed out because I'm switching everything over to unicorns. You have to admit, alpacas, llamas, and stuff are all good. But when you got unicorns running around, you can't argue with the good old-fashioned unicorn. So a lot of the grazing animals got pushed out of the way so we had room for the unicorns to eat. That goat I can't butcher. That goat is someone's pet. Yeah, they're named. So we did have alpacas and I think llamas before, but they got removed to make room for the unicorns. The Game Master is the final arbiter of the world. She plays for no matter raw or rye. Yeah, real perm. None of what I said was direct argument versus a GM. I'm not saying that I would sit there and argue a GM. As a matter of fact, I think the only GM I have like legit really argued with, like wholesale, would be TikToks. He's the only one I have like legit 100% argued with, like, no, what you were saying is wrong. You should stop now. And to be fair, that is more along the lines of, as I had taught him D&D, and then he had a different style of reading the rules. He is far better at melee rules than I am, and I tend to focus on magical items and magic. So we would inform each other of things, and then we'd DM two different things, and then because of our different ever-growing ways of doing it, we'd routinely just argue with each other, kind of a stump the chump kind of thing. Like, oh, you thought the rule was like, but you remembered it wrong. And or sometimes he comes up with weird things, or he would come up with weird things, and my idea of what the situation was and his idea of what the situation was were not gelling. So I think he's the only one I've legitimately just sat there and argued with. I'm not making alpaca cheese. Ugh. And if you milk alpaca ladies, you can make cheese and whatnot. Ah, but what if I want to... Couldn't even finish the joke. It was going to involve alpaca men. Anyways, saw a video where they call the arcane trickster a worse bard. I don't think they're wrong. Depends on what game you're talking about, but a lot of times, yeah, the arcane trickster doesn't make sense. Just straight better than Parmesan cheese, which is glorified Italian grated meat. I'm not a cheese fan. Not really a cheese fan. There's generally one type of cheese I kind of like, and that's Swiss. And I want to make this clear, like Swiss with the holes in it. Not like the Swiss that you can get in American stores that's really just white American. D&D 5th edition, please ban Alapeg. Thanks. Why, you don't like the glorified Italian grated meat? That sounds bad. Alright, so I think our north tower, I was about to say I think our north tower has been fixed, but no, it hasn't. What have I done to the north tower? Build construction up. Down. Hey, you're still fine. Who is it? La Real Perm with the follow. Thank you so much, La Real Perm, for joining on to our alert network of flares across the ages. Flares across the lands of Twitch area. And should you ever need to light your flare in distress, the Mountain Home pledges our eternal enchanted blades to your cause. Will decapitate all the enemies that stand before you until justice reigns supreme. Also, maybe in exchange for some gold. We do like a bit of gold jewelry from our mountain homes. Really, just give us all your mountains. We'll do an exchange for mountains. We like mountains. Thank you so much for your support. I stand Parman Asiago. And what? What do you mean stand? What is I stand? Asiago, I'm gonna have to disagree with you here. If someone asked me which cheese was a foot, I would say Asiago. I was tricked one time. What was it? It wasn't Qdoba. Well, some place are like, oh, we're gonna give you this and this and this and this, and it's all gonna be on Asiago bun. And I was just like, sure. I think I was trying to get a burger or something. I was like, sure, whatever. That Asiago bun. Yo, nastiest thing. I don't think I was about to say I don't think I finished it. I know I didn't. If I finished it, it's because it was very expensive and I didn't want to waste it. That was the nastiest. Asiago bun. Tastes like As from Iago. Or I support. Unconditionally, unless they turn out to be pedophiles or rapists or something like that. Gotcha. Yeah, I should be banned. I insulted Italian feet by comparing them to Parmesan. Oh no, one of our dwarven children is shaken. Why is this dwarven child been shaken? I don't know where this dwarven child is. Why is there a human? Oh god, no. Oh no, 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 damn it. I didn't want guests. Have I or have I not already ordered this to be... Wait, no, I haven't. That's the one that needs enough. This one needs a floor. Well, I don't have anything on those floors. This is going to start getting... Luckily, I don't need to do too much. This is going to be on the wall, right? So no risk of falling through. This is also going to be on the wall, so no risk of falling through. Italian friends and themselves called Parmesan. Wait, hold on. It's shaking, baby. I should be, I have Italian friends and they themselves call Parmesan the feet cheese. Clear. Why isn't there a human? I mean, wouldn't there be? No. Because I try to set up my base to not allow visitors in. Because, what are we guys, 2 for 2? On me having visitors and mercenaries in the base. And as soon as I get invaded, the game bugged out and made them all hostile and started attacking. Every time. 2 for 2. But I was like, fine, I let them in. And I had random visitors in the base. And they went hostile and started attacking. And they would kill like 30 people before anyone had a chance to respond to them. It's just annoying. I do not want the visitors in the base. How many do we have? Yeah, straight up 100% right now. As far as I'm aware, all 6 of these people are enemies. Because we've had the guild representative, the second time that happened, we had the guild representative was one of the people that went evil. The reason I say this is because because in most of the world we have the knockoff brand of Parmesan, which is not the original Parmigiano Reggiano, and it tastes like nothing. It really is the worst. Reggiano or the knockoff?
Hi.
Hello, Stephen Roberts. You made an artifact earlier, Stephen Robert, and I got confused and I couldn't remember who you were. Except no, I couldn't remember who you were. I was about to say something, and I was about to falsely attribute it to you. You made a steel mace called Jailer Jumped. So we got our strongest stone hauler, made him be a mace dwarf, and had him start training with it. Speaking of which, who was he? I didn't want to go in here. I wanted to open up Therapist, read, and we'll see how good he's gotten in this skill. Military ace. Hey, he got to level 1. He didn't have any levels before. That's good. Why is he... Oh, because he's missing clothing. Are we really back to the point where we're missing clothing again? Let me guess. Shoes. Go the other way. We're close! Ooh boy, are we close. Bunch of socks are missing. Oh goody, a caravan has arrived. Be still, my beating heart. What are these? Cloth sock. Okay, I got rid of yarn sock earlier. I had them make 2.
Hiya.
And then, hold on, Stephen. Missions. Amount of socks less than 5, and plant cloth at least 5. Amount of socks less than 5. And addition off the reagent, unused yarn cloth is at least. You're saying that we have available socks. This is what's throwing me off. That thing has just made a claim that we have available socks. We have available socks here? We have a lot of things here. An artifact. I just want to go down a peek. So, oh, sorry, hold on. More socks. Cannot scale production up because there's not that many people willing to pay $25 per pound of cheese. Wait, what the hell? The Parmesan all over the world is not the right thing. All because original cheese is region locked, is made with a specific way and specific yeast and whatnot. So there's a lot of random things that are region locked in Europe. It's kind of weird. More socks. Cannot scale production up because there's not that many people willing to pay $25 per pound of cheese. But tomorrow I'll be part of a 2-hour playtest with the Interbellum guys. Is Interbellum the war one? Found the solution to the cloth scarcity of this game. Textile farms on the surface. Cotton fields tended by tamed goblin sub-citizens? A fantasy World War I game. unless they change those stats, you know where I suggest stats go. That region in Italy only produces about 2% of the world's consumption. Well, I think I did that. I did not. I have it underground. What do you grow above ground that does clothing? I'm about to switch this to an above ground. I forget. Is it foxtail? I don't even have seeds. It'd have to be something up here that I have seeds for. I don't think I have any. I don't think I have any clothing ones at least. We have a bunch of cloth. Alright, and then a new task. No. Gotta add in trousers. Hold on. Trousers. Cloth. 2. Same thing for trousers. Condition for the product is less than. Now if the reagent is less than, it's at least. How's cloth? New one. For yarn. 2. 2. Addition product less than 5. The reagent cost of at least 5. Now the thing is, they're saying that we have tons of these clothing, so why are people not getting the new clothing? Foxtail works, I think. Hemp would make something. Hemp, cotton, pigtail. Pigtail's what I'm growing now. The problem is it only grows 2 seasons out of the year. Well, Peg, are you saying that this real Parmesan is only produced by Dwarf-like community in Italy? How do they repel the envious raiders? They have a fortress of some kind?
Yes, Alapega. Please, tell us of this Italian dwarf-like community and their constant struggles to repel off the Parmigiano invaders. Tell us all so I may know their weakness.
Leather socks sounds fucking disgusting. No, the flesh of the animals, I don't use for things like that. Probably should, but I don't. Now, here's the thing. They're saying that we have a bunch of them. They're acting like, oh, well, you've got so many pants. You have more than 5. What's the big deal? You got pants. How do you force them to get new clothing? Because they're at the point for how damaged were those pants? Not you. How damaged were those pants? Okay, no. These guys are only blue because they're missing armor. Nobody's missing. It's not even like his shoes are 2XX. So people are showing green. He should be getting rid of his fucking clothes. How do you like, I don't want to do the auto dump thing where it gets rid of half of everyone's clothes right now. I just want them to realize at XX they should get new clothing. Tips for managing clothing. Does anyone have a thing? Shirts, pants, shoes. Hood, mitten. But how? Why don't they just grab them? Like, if I have a better quality than you, you should try to upgrade your clothing. It's free. Unicorn leather socks make you feel like you're walking on rainbows. Hold on. I like that idea, actually. Can you even do a sock? I know you can do a shoe. Can you do a sock? I think you can do a sock. Make a leather shoe. Specify leather. Where are my unicorns? I have a bunch of unicorn leather. I know I do. I'm gonna assume we're in alphabetical. Means it probably should have just gone up earlier. Would have made way more sense. After all this time, I only have one unicorn leather. Alright, never mind, get rid of that. I guess they haven't grown enough children for me to butcher? I mean, they don't have as much counterfeit Parmesan cheese in Italy, but who is going to enforce the brand at an international scale? What was your problem with their skill check? Let's skill check. You have to somehow enforce that dwarves with bad clothes throw them in the refuse, and they'll go grab new ones. I have no clue how you enforce that rule, though. That's exact. That was actually not quite that verbiage. That was actually my question. Was how do you make them understand to throw away their old clothes? Oh no, it wasn't how easy it was to break. I'm talking about for shooting. Because the shooting the shooting didn't have much your opponent could do. That was, if you recall, admittedly that stream was a long time ago. I pointed out how easy it was to get like a 30+ ranged attack, and the enemy's defense went up like 18. Bro, enough. Make the refuse pile very high priority for clothing below X health. That's not a thing you can do. They throw them away on their own if there's a garbage dump. Oh! I turned a garbage dump off. Active. I forgot I turned that off. That would explain a few things. Actually, no. I take that back. There was an active one up here. They could have put it here, but they didn't. I don't think I see clothing here. There is no clothing here. So what are they on, like, do they have a new rule set then? So I did say if they were still on that same rule set. Refuse stockpile? A refuse stockpile. No, they don't put clothing in those. Yeah, clothing doesn't go in these. It would have to be a garbage dump. But they, like, the dude is double X. You double big X. You can't get worse than that without it just falling off your damn body. You cannot get worse than 2 double big X. So why do they still have it? Like, those are shoes that he should not have. Also, what did you want? Spears. Didn't I order up some spears for you? Or are these new spears? Oh, no. Remove you. I do not want 22 spears. Two spears. Makes way more sense. You did order 2 copper spears. Alright, so it's probably just a new one. It's probably just a new mandate. Because I don't think anyone's been thrown in jail. Didn't I blame this on one humped camel? I feel like I blamed the one, yeah. So we haven't gotten anyone in trouble recently. All these cold cases have been solved. They should get cleared out. Please and thank you. I convicted a one-humped camel. Clearly that camel did it. Or am I? I'm just gonna say, that was very, very disconcerting. Oh my god, time flies. It is 11:31. So in about 15-20 minutes, 11:50, I'm going to start doing the wrap-up procedures for today's stream. So this is basically, I know I usually give about an hour warning, but you have about 20 or so minutes if you want to ask questions, get Dwarf, be in the game, what have you, so on and so forth. Full just warning, about 20 minutes I start the procedures of shutting the stream down, credits, seeing who to raid, and all that good jazz. I blame Camel for cancer. Exactly it. This is 100% exactly what's going on. Did I even have anything to bring these guys? Yes, I did. Who are these people? I was gonna bring them a bunch of my cut gems. There you go. Is there anything else I would want to bring these people? Anything I'm like, man, I don't want those anymore. Bring him the arrows. No one likes those. Do I have anything that is large? And by large, I meant for clothing. Game, come on, you know what I meant. Should have remembered that there was a bunch of pops laying around. A spice pot? What the hell is a spice pot? Okay, these. Since I can't use them because they're large, let's get rid of them. What the hell is a spice pot? I want to keep it because I don't know what it is. I think that's an instrument, so I'm going to keep that one. Alright, we got rid of the larges. What else do I not like? Do I have brass things? Let's get rid of some brass. Do I have bronze? Yeah, let's get rid of some bronze bucklers so I don't have to melt them down. Bismuth, bronze, right gauntlet, just get rid of that. Bronze pick, I don't even want to melt these. These are so stupid. And there's large ones. How did I not see these earlier? Yeah, just the bismuth, bronze, and the bronze. Get rid of these. I don't want these damn armor pieces. I'll keep a shield for now. Shields are decent. The rest of these, no. Just no. Bolts or bolts? I'll keep all the bolts. Metal bolts are always decent. But there's one that's a stack of one. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. They want to stack them in groups of one, then I'm just going to get rid of them. There you go. Purging bronze this time will be all I need to do. I'll return in a reasonable point in the future. Have a good evening. All right. It better be very, very reasonable, though, because I might not be here at that point. Have a good evening, though. So does that mean Camel worse than anyone else? Milled stuff. All right. Like I said, they're going to bring those out. We'll just let them take their sweet time. I don't think I need this anymore since I'm not going to be making ballista shots. I feel like I don't need that. But might as well remove you for now. Put it back later. And a lot of these empty spaces, other than for storage, I might compress down a bit. Just, again, to save on the pathfinding. And then two, because I don't really need all this room. Remember, we're making like 8 towers. They're actually going to be not centralized other than a housing district. So a lot of these big rooms from the beginning don't really need to be there other than it was holding the shape for the water. Like, I can convert it to like one big, for 10 people, barracks per floor. Gonna have 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed. Just have the military dudes have an entire floor to themselves. Alright, so they're bringing up the armor. I haven't requested the dude. There's shit here that I don't want. Pigtail bag. I really don't like bags. These are taking up my things. I can get rid of an oaken chest. A wood chair. Nothing in here screaming though that like shouldn't be here. Mechanics, hatch covers. I don't remember why I have so many, but I want to keep them. The anvils are getting melted down. Are there empty bins? If there are empty bins, I should get rid of bins. These are humans, right? Is there a way to look in the item? C, yep. Not a gym bin, not a cloth bin. Literally get rid of regular old bins. I really, really don't like these damn things. I think if it just tells me it's wood type, I think we're good. There's still an armor bin laying around? What the hell have I not cleared out yet? There we go. Get rid of those excess bins. Because remember, we're trying to not use bins at all. We're trying to make it to be like quantum stockpiled everything's. A few of them, like leather and stuff, that are just so much and it's such a pain to get them out of the bins. We're not using bins. Have bins, but other than those. We still have laying around. Bunch of those things. You can cook those seeds. Drinks. Don't cook my drinks. Yeah, I'm really, really low on cookable things. Alright. Now, I believe the ashery did its thing. Hello. Ta-da! I've now made soap. I don't have an automated system for soap, but we've now made soap so we can pretend that we've had soap the entire time. Wasn't one of our main quests for today, but soap industry, check mark complete. We have soap for the hospital. Soap for the hospital. We've done half of the northern tower. We are trying to fix up the northern tower. Build construction wall. We've nearly finished up securing the northern tower. We drowned and fixed up the eastern tower. So we don't have any lichens anymore. The frames per second are good. We progressed in metal smelting. We haven't like started making sure that we have just steel. We're trying to get rid of the crappy metals and equipment, which we're doing that right now. So I think today we made some decent progress. There's 2 more things to bring. We might as well just request the broker now, because he has no job. Alright, and then looking at the times, I don't think there's going to be any major events after this. We'll complete this trade and then basically probably start bringing it down. So, Twitch, do I know anyone that's on right now? Cupo is on. See, I haven't rated him in forever. See, he stopped being on for a long time when I got off, and that started making me feel sad because I had no one to raid. So for shooting, if someone in min-max at the start of the game, they would have at most a d6 plus 8 to shoot, which the person being shot can reduce it by d6 plus 6, and lowest number needed if they are not in point blank is 6. I don't know if I agree with those numbers. I feel like I read much higher, was able to read into much higher numbers than what you just showed. Alright, we wish to trade all of these. 16,690. These are dwarves, not humans. So we might actually need to trade for other things. Steel, pick, spear, pick, spear, breastplate, mail, shield, 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 helm, cap, gauntlet, 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 gauntlet. Just going through steel, we already don't have much of a profit anymore. What if I can get that? You guys should be happy with me. Okay, they accepted that. That's good. That is a very good first step. They accepted that. However, I want to go a step further because now I want to see what they really have. I'm going to order over about 6 prepared food pots at about 7,000 a piece. 8,000 or 8 of them. I know what I'm trying to do with food, and for once the dwarves actually brought a large amount of what I wanted. If that took all of that just to get the steer trade off, and they bought it, ooh-wee. We're about to get some good trades as soon as we get the food brought up. Which is pending, so someone's going to be bringing it. I haven't told their trader to go away yet, so we just need the barrels brought here. We'll get the trade off. And skill now has a max cap of 10. Well, I would hope so if they changed it. Because I had some reservations about the first numbers, but from what you said, they weren't going to listen to me. From what you said, because I hadn't backed them on Kickstarter or whatever, they didn't want my input for how some of the rules were a bit goofy. Skills have a max cap of 10. Trying to think. Do they still have magic involved? I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. It wasn't magic. How does the entrenching guy's skill work now? One of the dudes in the earlier rule set was an entrenching dude, and what he did is he increased the armor bonus by all armor around him, undeclared how around is, by 3 or 2. And the sniper's ability was to mix essentially their intelligence with their agility while shooting. So whatever your max is for stats, double it right then and there. I think that was my big issue with the sniper dude, was that from the very beginning he could just do 2 stats together. You just max them both out, you're gonna far outclass your opponent. Most a d6 plus 8. So assuming you're talking about plus 8 off of one stat, if you did it from 2, it'd be what? Plus 16? D6 plus D16? If that sniper works the way he used to? Alright, 3 more. 3 more food barrels. Come on. Come on. Well, actually, no. The food barrels are still coming. I'll do a trade now. Oh, God, look how expensive some of the later ones are. Our dude's been really going to town. Alright, is there anything else I wanted from steel? I want the bolts. I feel like I want the bolts. Oh, and there was more armor I didn't even notice. Oh, don't mind if I do. I'm gonna trade for their pig iron bars just to get that. We only have 1, but it's 1 less step that I have to worry about for making things. Do they have chalk? No. Do they have marble? No. Do they have dolomite? Not really. So I'm not making steel myself. I feel like they do that on purpose too, just to make sure I can't make things. I was gonna want anything that said copy, but I guess not. Plus 8 is for the stat and starting skills that you focus on one weapon. Stats max out at 6, so it'd be 12. So add another 6. You said plus 8, add another 6, that thing works the same. That's still plus 14. Not taking into account the weapon bonuses. Like I said, I don't mean to sound aggressive. I'm going off of old memories here. I would need to see the new one. I was a little put off by the, hey, can you relay information to them? Some of these look a bit iffy, and I'd like to maybe weigh in on this. And then their reply was, no, we're not going to listen to you. Oh, okay then. I suddenly no longer care about you. Like, how are you going to have a beta and then be like, well, I don't care about what your complaints are. I don't actually want you to weigh in. That annoyed me. Water skins I don't need. Toy axes, lead, dwarven ale, beer. Forgot beer. I'll get more booze in a second. Ale, air, beer, bucket. Axes, swords. I don't care about the rest of these. Don't care about the rest of these. We'll just start doing clothing, I guess. So what if I say silk? Sock, shoe, 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 sock, 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 sock. Glove, glove, mitten, mitten. Alright, that was everything made out of silk. Nope. Trousers. They're always gonna leave out trousers. Alright, so that was silk. Yarn? Nope. I forget what it's called after it's stitched together, but it's not yarn, cloth. Do you really have no other clothes? Oh, let's get the damn cheeses. Because apparently everyone loves Italian Parmigiano cheese. We're gonna grab up a bunch of Italian Parmigiano cheese. From kangaroos. And dogs. Weapons don't give a hit bonus. It was something. There was something that you could do with a weapon. I forget what it was. There was something crazy. Like I'm doing it off of memory. You'll have to forgive me if I make a few screw-ups. Fuck it, let's get a steel corkscrew. Still a massive profit for them. Steel chain leggings. I've already grabbed steel. Backpacks no one wants. Silk thread leggings. Trousers. Wool, not cloth. It's called wool yarn. Vest, shoes, socks, hood, mitten, glove, mitten, no bags. Alright, and I think we're basically done with this. Their profit's getting real low. Matter of fact. Oh, okay, yeah. Their profit's a bit low. They're less than 50. But I've given them such massive profits before. I feel like they're going to trade it anyways. I just want to see if I can find that third type. The cloth. Like the plant fiber clothing. Wool, wool, leather. Is it literally just called pigtail? I don't actually care about mittens and gloves. I want to see if you have trousers. There we go. Yep, okay. Don't even bring the food over. We'll go with the trade. I got what I wanted. Boom. It is missing a lot of the more experimental stuff, but as the rules we'll be using for the playtest tomorrow. I can give you the new trial rules that everyone is allowed to use. Yeah, sure. Send me the link or whatever in Discord. Now I'll have a look at it. Now you say open. Is it now open to the point of they're willing to have more people's eyes on it, or is it still a no? If you didn't give us money, then your opinion doesn't matter. Oh, why am I doing ramps? Ramps is for dum-dums. Oh good, I got rid of floor. Floors are for dum-dums. Work with me, game. Holy crap. get this ordered, and then this is probably going to be the final project of the stream, is getting these floors installed over here. Not even sure what I'd be using them for, admittedly, yet. But let's get them installed. Oh, we're actually running low on our andesite blocks finally. We have eaten all the way through our massive stockpile. We might even have enough to fully fill out this floor. Words. Words are a thing that people use to communicate. 9, 16, 20. Upper right corner was unable to be done. So I'll need to free up some andesite blocks somewhere. Start dumping in Gabbro, I guess. Either that or just start up a massive strip mine somewhere for andesite. Well, that looks like it worked. Would say they're a bit more open to other people's opinions now. Okay, so instead of a to hit bonus, they have it so it's easier to cause criticals. Alright. I'll take a look at it. So, the core of the math behind it, like just mathematically speaking, a D6 it does not allow a ton of variability. Now, I know they're not going to change on that. I'm not saying they shouldn't use a D6. I get why they're doing it. It's so that anybody can use it because everybody has a regular 6-sided dice. I get why they're doing it, so they're not going to change it. But hopefully their math gels with the idea of there's not a lot of variability in the game. Cyrilak is shaken. Why is Cyrilak shook? All these people are shaken because an animal was convicted of a crime. Did Toady put that in there just as like a trap for people trying to get around the justice system? Because I don't think the game would naturally convict an animal. So I swear that negative thought is in there purely to be like, oh, the player's gonna convict an animal? Tee-hee, tee-hee. Now all your dwarves are just shaken to their very being about this convicted camel. GURPS, no. It's not using D6. The Interbellum game uses 1D6. I wasn't saying anything against the use of D6 in general. Even World of Darkness uses like D8s and D10s, but they use it to count the amount of successes. Like a variable way of doing that would make sense if it was just a sheer amount of D6. Interbellum, the last time I read it, was 1D6 that you rolled for like your attack roll, and you added a bunch of things to it. So your variability was very minor, which means any flat number you add to it is that much stronger. Everything's in the stats. The smaller your dice roll, the bigger a bonus your stats do. That's just what it is. So even though GURPS uses D6, it's 3 to 18. You know what I'm saying? Like there's what, a 15 number variable there? It's not quite even in terms of like able to calculate off the top of your head the chances of it, because it's a 15 different chances, and it's weighted extremely towards the middle point. But that's something. 1d6 is not that variable. 1d6 with skill checks, so yes, everything's about stats. Damage where you start to add multiple d6. Means 3 and 18 are very, very unlikely. Get it? I get the normal distribution curve. Your average number for that would be 10.5. That's your average number for your GURPS roll, which means all difficulties should be based around 10.5. Your average difficulty should pass 50% of the time, i.e. average difficulty is like an 11 in GURPS. Higher level things, that number slowly increments, but your flat DC that you're going off of from the beginning, that an average person can do half the time with no training, is about an 11. In this game, your average person half the time should roll 4, because the average is 3.5. So that's a lot easier to hit that average number, to guarantee for you to mathematically equal that average, as opposed to something that has higher variability numbers. Pathfinder or anything using D20, of course, is just 50-50. The average number is 10.5, 11, or higher. From first level, it's rather difficult to get to an 11. You have to like actually try to force a min-max, because trained skill plus skill bonus, even if you had really good stats, 18, you're getting 4, so you're up to 8. You still need 3 more to flat out equal that average number. A 1d6 roll, your thing being 4, it's not hard to equal 4. Your highest stat you said was a 6? Like I said, this is just me going off the top of my head, boiling down numbers. I don't mean to sound quite so mean when I do number talk. When I get into dirty talking numbers, I tend to sound a bit more mean than I mean. But numbers don't lie. Most weapon regular damage can do is 3d6. So the variability is on damage. But you're getting hit a lot. But the stats increase your critical chance? So it's like Morrowind with a D&D hit or miss system. I have no clue at what point I was talking you're referencing Hellfire Skyrim. Are you talking about the D6, the 3d6, the D20? Yeah, 1d6 for skill checks. So, namely in terms of skill checks, this is where I bring that up, is there are things, if you can't auto-fail, like a lot of games it's skill checks, you cannot auto-fail a skill check by rolling 1. The second most important thing is, do they have a not changing DC? Climbing. Climbing, if you have a knotted rope versus a wall, is a DC of what, 5? DC of 5. The DC doesn't change. In a lot of games, they have DC set this way for environmental effects. The problem being, if you can just get your bonus to that number, you don't need to roll. I'm not saying that a game is more broken than the others. This is a core thing for other games. You want to see how well their math pans out for non-combat related things. I tend to look at skills. So that's why I brought up that 11 for. A DC of 10, which is what they go for to make it even, is actually more common than you would think. 11 is the one that would be the 50-50 roll or higher. 10 just means you need to get 10 to 20. That's 11 numbers as opposed to 9 or less. But a DC of, I'm going to say 11, is a 50-50 for a not trained human to do 50% of the time you're expecting them to pass. That's a slightly difficult number, and you can't accidentally do that. With the number as you're stating it now, depending upon where the DCs are, if they're not designed around the fact that, if they're designed around the D6, then your average DC for anyone to just be able to do half the time is a 4. And then you actually try to account for attributes. And you can quickly, easily, and accidentally make it to where you wouldn't need to roll that DC. I'm not saying they did this. I have not seen the new rolls. I'm just using the D6 as an example of why more variability tends to make it easier for your math to work. You have more room for error with more variability. The smaller the group of dice you roll, the more pronounced mathematical problems become, because the dice don't have an effect anymore. The D20. Yeah, a lot of video game RPGs are just off the D20 system. It's a very simple thing to calculate around. Every one is just a 5% chance. The next easiest one to do is a D100. But even then, a lot of video games that look like they're doing a D100 system, you'll notice that a lot of times they only tend to go up in groups of 5. It's just a D20 system again. They just didn't want to bother dividing by 5 when they presented it to you. There are games that use like an actual percentile chance where they don't go up in groups of 5. First game that comes to mind is like XCOM. You get like 88s and stuff like that. But no, there are a lot of games that just basically use a D20 system. Some of them lie about it, but a lot of games just use a D20 system. It's the easiest thing to calculate for in an RPG. Even if you wanted to try to make it simpler, like GURPS, and use 3d6, you really only have a 1 to a 15. Because it's 3 to 18, but really that's not what you're rolling. You're rolling 1 to 15. You're rolling 1 to 15 with a standard curve. Because you can't roll lower than a 3. Oh wait, no, 1 to 16. Can't roll the 1 or 2. Take off the lower 2. So it's just 1 to 16. Standard curve. So what did I say it was going to be for the 18? Said for the 18 it would be 6, 7, 10.5. 16 would be, if it was a flat, ignoring the standard deviation, just what would be in the middle. The 16, if you had a 1d16, would be 16, 17, 8.5. So take the 8.5, add the 2 you subtracted earlier, the 18, there's your 10.5. Really, what your average roll is the equivalent of an 8.5 in a 3d6 system. Even though the numbers you're rolling are 10.5, if you just made it be a regular 1d16, your average in the middle die is going to be 2 less. Subtract the 1 to 2 from the 18, 2 less. It's just what are your chances of rolling those numbers in the middle. That's it. That's all you've done is you've tweaked the likelihood of coming towards those averages. Because the real thing with a lot of games is just like with that, you're bringing in the outlier. It's not a flat bar. You're curving it towards a standard curve. But if you still curve it around the average roll, that doesn't do too much. It makes crits funny. Not funny, but funner, because they're rarer. But if your DC is based mathematically around that central point, you still have just a likely chance to pass or fail. So success and failure doesn't change at all when you do the dice like that. All that happens is it makes your crits harder. That's it. It just makes the game a bit more bland. Ooh, Creevy 22 has had a mood. Alright, we'll wait and see what Creevy 22 is doing. After Creevy 22's mood, we'll end the stream. Okay, in order for someone to crit, they have to get 5 higher than what was needed to hit. So the DC was 8, they need a 13 with a weapon. They can reduce how high they need with at most a 5-point reduction. No. I was kind of okay with what you just said until you said at most 5. And I'm gonna argue against that 5 point for the same reason I argue against the terminology in any other game.
You there, this workshop's mine now.
And of course it's a craft store, so he's not gonna do anything good useful. Any game, if you set up a rule, I mentioned this multiple times. There are words. There are certain words or their equivalents that you probably kind of want to not have in your game. Or if you do, you don't want to have it a lot. You don't want it to be an easy word to achieve. Never, always, natural, extreme words. Anything that basically remove a function of the dice, you don't want to do. Now, if you need to get a crit as 5 higher than what, getting 5 higher than that is a crit. Getting rid of all 5 is essentially saying that any time you hit is the natural crit. You're not needing to be exceptional with that weapon. You're just needing to be average. You're needing to hit and you are guaranteed the crit as you've written it right there. A 4? A 4, okay, you took out a lot and I can see it being very powerful, but there's still a difference between hitting and critting. You get rid of all 5, there is no difference with that weapon between hitting and critting. That weapon should literally just utter the phrase, you always critical when you hit. And at that point, you're just back to my extreme language, you should never have the word always. That's what, as maybe it's not quite as simple as you put it, and I don't want to blame you if that is true, or again, blame them, but that is an extreme math right there. You've taken out a fundamental part of the game with that weapon. The difference between a hit and a crit. That makes that weapon far, far superior to any other weapon. Because it's playing by a completely different rule set. That weapon should not have a regular hit rating. That weapon should just be, you're going to crit when you hit. Here's a weapon. That weapon should not say you crit. That weapon should just have an exorbitantly large amount of damage and then say this is what happens when you hit. That's the equivalent, because you're always going to be critting with a weapon that reduces the need for what you need, like reduces your requirement for critting. That weapon should just say, I don't crit, but when I hit, I do this much exorbitant damage. That is the exact same thing. I don't even know what critting is in that game. And I want to make this clear. I don't mean to be like, nobody should enjoy the game. I'm just like that. It can be worded differently. It can be tweaked. Because what you were talking about, I'm going to make the assumption that what you're talking about is either a rocket launcher or a high-powered rifle, along the lines of an anti-material rifle, an AM-21 or something like that. In which case, if you're going like near historical, that's about right. That is about right. If the rifle crits, it's going through. But at that point, why even put in that it crits 5 less? That's a weird way of wording that. It just shouldn't crit. It should have 3 times the damage. If it is in fact an anti-material rifle, it's going to, or a 50 caliber Barrett rifle, it's going to just be doing a ton of damage. Why even mention the critting thing? Just say this weapon doesn't crit and list a massively high number. So everyone will be like, oh, what did you get? I got the Barrett. You just say you got a Barrett, it looks like it does like 1d12 or 1d, 2d, 3d6 or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, that's a bunch of damage. But then you crit, it's like, oh, okay. And you got to remember that every time. However, if you say I got a Barrett, what does it do? 36d6. Then it's like, oh, there's a downside. I can't crit. Oh, that sucks. But how much damage do you do? There are ways to rule it. That's all I'm saying. Just the way you have numbers to get rid of numbers, you're making the players do too much work for no little. But what is a crit? Is crit double damage? If a crit is double damage and a normal weapon at that scale does 3d6 and your weapon does 6d6, yeah, you'd be like, yeah, my weapon doesn't crit, but man, does it slaughter. You know what I'm saying? It's the math is still the same, but it's a better way of presenting it. Removing it so you crit all the time makes people have to sit there, like if DM's not paying attention, be like, did you crit? Why, yes, it's the Barrett. It always crits. Oh, okay. All right, you crit, you did this, and all right, you hit him. How much? I have to see if you beat him by 5. No, don't forget, DM, I have the Barrett. Oh, that's right. Like you're constantly introducing like an extra part of communication to be like, no. If I hit him, I crit. Remember, DM, I crit. Remember, DM, I crit. If there is a rule where you have to keep telling the DM, remember, I do this, probably needs to be a bit streamlined. Again, nothing against the sheer damage. It's just you essentially have extreme terminology in there. That means somebody has to remember that there's a facet of the game that's not happening. Whereas with the Barrett, it's like, oh, I hit. Well, how much? Or, let's see how much you did by. Who cares? Oh, you did 5. You critted. Like, oh, okay, whatever. Just you say the regular damage. The less you have the feedback on those numbers, the faster the combat goes. I need to free up some andesite blocks.
Strangely quiet.
Yeah, shut up. Whatever, I'll just use Gabbro for now. I'll change it later. We have 4 andesite though. Use Gabbro. If I were to use the cobalt type blocks upstairs and fix the roof, I could free up a bunch of andesite, or is that Gabbro? Yeah, I could free up andesite up here if I use the blue up here like I was supposed to. And the trial rules, when you crit, you roll 2d6 and an effect happens. Only 2 of these deal straight extra damage. Okay, so we're talking about 2 different crits anyways. Alright, that does mitigate some of what I had said then. And it is either bleed for 1 point per turn and the other is an extra die. Okay, so it's not a critical in terms of a normal critical system. That shouldn't be called a critical then. Freaking Warhammer 40k had the same issue with its... Hold on. Where's that dude having his move? Is he stuck there or is he grabbing things? No, he's grabbing things. Same issue with the Warhammer 40k game. They had critical damage. They shouldn't call it critical. They replaced how their criticals work and they called that something different, which that was fine. But they put the word critical back in. And it's not wrong the way they did it. Warhammer 40k, their Dark Heresy game, kind of did it right and kind of half reduced some of their things. So the Warhammer 40k system was called Holy Fury? Emperor's Blessing? Their critical system was weird. It added damage, and it wasn't called critical anymore. It was called like Holy Fury. And it did a ton of damage. So they took off the word critical because it didn't work the way people thought of critical. But then they had a critical damage table at the end of it when you did too much damage. The idea being that you did damage to where they were in critical health, not you were doing critical damage. So they because they changed the critical system, they got rid of the idea. So they put the words back. So they did it right, but then new people could still get confused because you're saying critical. I'd argue the opposite. Critical hit should be a hit that has a crit. That's exactly my point. You shouldn't have had critical at the back end of it. Like, if you're going to remove it because you're doing something, that's fine, but then they put critical back in. That's what I'm saying. Warhammer 40k, like, went against their own things. I'm putting the word critical back in. There should have been another word for it. If they're going for, like, Warhammer 40k terminology, I think they could have come up with something besides critical. Like, bone structural damage, like, not simple reduction of HP. Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly my point. Like, they shouldn't have put that back in. If your critical hit is just doing an extra effect, it probably shouldn't be called critical. But it is for doing an extraordinarily good shot. I'm trying to think of a military term besides critical. In the pre-A D&D days, version 1.1, critical hit was a roll on a separate table to see what you broke, or if it was a one-shot kill. Yeah, but then it got changed. The merchants will be leaving soon. Did I trade with them? Yes. Yes, I did. They call it critical effects. Okay. But they call it a critical hit to cause a critical effect. Okay, I like that. Critical hit to cause a critical effect. When you need to roll 5 above, cause a critical effect. This weapon doesn't. This weapon, every time it hits, causes a critical effect. Still not sure I like that. On one hand, that reads a lot better in my head than what you described before. Like, a lot better. Because it's not just pure extra damage. On the other hand, you go back to an extreme terminology. The weapon does the equivalent of every time I hit, I cause a critical effect. And you have the word every in there. The strongest weapon in the known worlds could hit somebody in, like, the very edge of their arm and not cause a massively extra effect. So every time, I'm still not liking the fact that they have an essentially extreme verbiage there. Because what that means is there's no way to just graze somebody with that weapon. Every time you hit them, you cause a critical effect. What is this weapon anyways? I can see a magic weapon had a property that had always severed an artery or broke a bone because magic. The thing is, I don't think there's a magic weapon he's talking about. I think he's just talking about a regular old weapon. Eye does major damage. Right, yeah. He hasn't told me what it is yet, but I'm really feeling like it's probably a Barrett or an anti-material rifle. Or it's a headshot. And a Barrett doesn't even need to hit to crit. Arguable. I'd argue that. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying is a Barrett can go, like, a 50 caliber thing can go near somebody and get them. Hear me out here. That Barrett doing that is its hit. It should be having a bonus on to hit. It hits easier. That's the low end of its damage. At some point, you're shooting far enough away that they just take skin damage. There is an area that you can hit with a Barrett. You don't go from no damage to death for being nearby. There is an area in the middle where like the force going by them just strips skin. Like, that's why I would argue that it is still possible on a Barrett to do a grazing shot. It's just a regular weapon, a grazing shot's like right here. A Barrett, a grazing shot's like 5 feet out. Something called the Divine. So is it a magic weapon then? There are weapons that just being next to. Yeah, can tear you to pieces. But where's the edge of the Sonic Blast? Is what I'm saying. Even those weapons still can do a grazing shot, just right outside the edge of the Sonic Blast.
An artifact has been completed.
If I'm off to bed, dream out. Yes. Up. And we're gonna end with me describing a fucking dog bone ring. We're gonna end with me describing a fucking dog bone ring. Stalker relieved the suit of rangers or rings? I don't even know. What is this? The suitor of robes. Stalker relieved the suitor of robes.
This is a dog bone ring. All craftsmanship is of the highest quality. It is encrusted with cushioned marble camicons and rectangular rubicel camicons, decorated with dog bone and goat leather, and encircled with bands of pigtail and apricot wood. This object menacing with spikes of rubicel. On the item is an image of emerald-cut gems and purple spinel. This is Stalker Relieved, the Suitor of Rose, a dog bone ring worth 81,600 dwarf bucks.
Never forget about Gom Jabber. Hey, hello world, it's me. Hello world, welcome to the stream. Unfortunately, you've caught me just as I was about to start ending. We were waiting for that man to finish that ring